So I'm on my deathbed. Not literally, but we're just going to imagine it. That would be a cough of death. So I'm on my deathbed. And people are coming to me. And the question is, well, I think I'll just do the scenario. I'll do the voices as best I can. Hospital staff ask me, are you afraid to die? Now, the reason why they can ask this question is because I have already let them know that I'm open to anything and there is nothing inappropriate. As I'm in my last days, there is nothing that will offend me. I only ask that they make me comfortable, not that they worry about my precious little feelings. If I don't like something, I will let them know, but I won't get them in trouble for it. And so they ask, are you afraid to die? It's a classic question. And it's a complicated question because we are not unitary beings. We are not all this. We are not all that. We never can be all this or just all that. And so I am a Christian with absolute faith in the hereafter. But I am also a human. I look forward to the destiny to come, which I believe is my real destiny, which I can't even comprehend on this side. But I know it's going to be good. But my mind and my body and my heart and my being that is part of this earth cannot see that, cannot know that, cannot understand that. And so part of me is afraid to die. Because the part of me will actually die. Everything that is grounded to this earth in me, I believe, will die. And at least on this side, understanding it from this side, that is a loss. But what overrides all of that is the spirit inside of me. The Holy Spirit speaking to my spirit, my inner man. And my inner man is absolutely unafraid. I look at death as nothing more than a portal. Stepping through a door, but guided by my Savior, Jesus Christ himself, will greet me at that door, will take my hand, and will guide me into forevermore. I do not know where he will take me. I understand vaguely from Scripture. I'm not sure I believe all the life after death, come back from dead experiences. I don't take them any stock. I don't put any stock in them, is the bottom line. I'm not denying them, but I'm not building any kind of ideation about what is to come based upon those things. I am comfortable not knowing and not having the answers. We want all the answers. We want to know everything. But we cannot know everything. Ever. Until we go through that door. And the Hospital staff person looks at me and says, "How do you know you'll go through that door? And do you think I'll go through that door? Or everybody you know will go through that door? And if you don't think they'll all go through that door, how does that make you feel?" Another good question. I do not know if you will go through that door. See, going through that door is about a relationship with Jesus Christ. He is the only one that can take you through that door. See, people on this earth will say things like, "How dare God make it so that you can only go through that door with one person, with Jesus Christ? Why doesn't he let me go through with somebody else? Why does it have to be one way? Why does it have to be his way?" These are foolish questions. The question is not, why does God make these rules? But is God God, and did he make these rules? You see, if you believe he made these rules, then you simply follow them. And if you don't believe he made those rules, then you don't. But you will come to a point where all of your theories will be put to the test. And in that moment of time, in that very split second of time, there are two doors. One door you could go through with anyone, but it leads to death. One door you could only go through with Jesus, and it leads to life. And you can argue on this side all you want about how fair you think that is. Except that you're not the creator. If a human being said to me, "My way or the highway," I would say, "What kind of tyrant do you think you are?" I might even say, "Do you think you're God?" We even say that. We say that, and then the next second, we argue about what God said. The debate is whether God is, and whether these are his ways. And for me, I've come to the settled conclusion that Jesus Christ is the way and the life, and that no man comes to the Father but by him. I don't know about your relationship with Jesus. I would invite you to have one. I would invite you to talk to a counselor, a man of God, a woman of God, a church. I would invite you to read Scripture. Read the Gospel of John, the whole Gospel of John. Read it with an open heart and ask God to show you. And if you come to the end of yourself and you've realized that you are nothing but a pile of dung, that you have sinned against God and made yourself an enemy of God, and that you don't want to be that, and you want to be forgiven, and you want to be given life, and you want to serve him for eternity, then you will have a relationship with Jesus Christ. And if you said to me all of those things were true about you, I would say, well, assuming you're being honest with me, which I have no reason not to believe that, sure, you're going through the door. Well, what about other people that I know? Well, on this side, of course, that grief, especially for the ones that I know deny him, they'll stand at that moment and there will be the two doors. They'll go toward the one that's life, and there will be no entry because they don't know anybody there. And they're not known by anybody there. You see, when you choose not to believe on Jesus, when you choose not to have a relationship with him, that's your choice. And you say, again, back to how fair that is, but that is the way it is. Believe it or not. So the people that don't believe that I know, I grieve for them. And then you might say, but do you know they're not going to make it? One thing I have never done in my life. I have never said what God would do with any individual human being. I'm reminded of a story, I believe it was around 2014, 2012. It was the beginning of the Arab Spring and the uprising against Gaddafi. And I used to have a habit of constantly being involved in such things as much as I could in a virtual way. A group of us, me and my brother, would engage in cyber warfare against tyrannical governments. We try to destroy their computer systems, plant viruses, denial of service, or just find out what's going on. And we try to create open pathways for people that were inside so that they could get the messages out. And we became involved in the Libya uprising virtually. And I met a guy, his name was Mo. Muhammad was his full name, but we called him Mo. He was an English-speaking Libyan, and over the course of a couple months, I got to know him. I spoke to him a couple times a week. We were on I think it was IRC chat, and some other things. I forget what software would have been around back then. I don't remember all the names, but I would sometimes even be able to see video of him. I don't recall having a face-to-face video thing with him, maybe once or twice, but not often. It was just usually voice. And I was scheduled to have a call with him, and it was going to be a video call. And I get on the call, and someone answers, it's not Mo, and their English isn't very good. And I could see from the video that they're in a battle situation. There's gunfire in the background, and he says that unfortunately Mo had died. And it was terrible. Mo was a good guy. Mo laid down his life for other people, and he died bravely, and was basically a sniper took him out. I had witnessed to him and told him about Jesus. He hadn't indicated to me one way or another that he believed, but he was interested, and he was interested because I was helping them. Because I was helping them, he was asking why I would help Muslims. And I explained that I believed in freedom for everybody, Muslims or not, everybody. And that I would do everything I could to help him and to help his people and to help him get his message out and his videos out into the world. That's kind of what we were doing. And I remember thinking he about, the story about nothing is greater than a man lay down his life for his friends. And the question was brought to me from other friends who knew about Mo and who had told the stories to. And one non-believing person accusatorily asked me, well, if he was so great, why is he in hell? And I said, I know that there is no way to heaven but Jesus Christ. And I also know that he was a good man. And I have no idea what God did with his soul, nor what he believed when he died. I do not know the ways of God. I can tell you what I understand, but I also refuse to get into a debate about the fate of any human being's soul. I have never done it before, and I never did it since. So, do I vex over the people that I'll leave behind that may not come to know the Lord? At this moment, no, because the time to do that is over. As I face the final moments of my existence in this plane of existence, my thoughts turn heavenward. I'm drawing more and more to the cross and to Christ. It doesn't occur to me to think about anything outside of that. This doesn't mean I'm heartless, or perhaps you think I am, but I'm not. I just know that there's a time to grieve and there's a time to rejoice. And for me, this is not a time to grieve. This is a time to rejoice. I have finished my race. I am not unhappy about that at all. I have run the race that was set before me, faithful to the Lord. That doesn't mean, of course, that I was perfect. That doesn't mean if the Lord gave me another 20 years, I wouldn't continue to grow and mature. But as David was justified by faith, even though he did some really dumb, wrong things, so am I. So that's how I take that. I don't really, how would you say, I release all of those worries. And the hospital worker says, what about the people you'll leave behind that you used to help? Your children, your animals, your friends, your family. People that relied on you, that they won't have you anymore. Do you worry about what will happen to them? Well, I answer, in my life, I was blessed and privileged that the circle of my care was broad. I cared for many people. I helped many people. I'm not bragging about that. I was just given the ability to do so by God. I can't claim credit for something that God gave me. He privileged me to see. So while I was responsible for the things that were in my hands, I did care for these people. I did care for what they would do without me. They try to make provision. But at this moment, no. I released that as well. It is not in my purview. There's no reason for me to be concerned about that whatsoever. And the hospital worker says, well, where are all these people? You would think they would be flooding the hospital to see you in your last moments. Well, some of them I will see again, and some of them may not go through the door that I go through. I had hoped they would, but I am not worried about that now. But as for my expectations of those who I've helped or blessed or cared for, I have none. I didn't do any of those things for any reason but that God gave me the ability to do so. In the moment that I was able to be there and help them, that was enough. That was the reward. Seeing people be happy, seeing people be helped, seeing people be healed even. There's times I went out of my way to help someone because I knew that the amount of help I was giving them wasn't near as important as the gesture, and that them knowing that people cared and that God cared, and that's why God sent me. But I expect literally nothing. They may not even remember Do you remember every human being who ever helped you? There are probably some instances where someone helped you and it was a big deal to them, but it wasn't to you. And that doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's just how memory works. It doesn't remember everything. So many of these people probably have no recollection of me. Others that have a recollection of me, they've got bigger problems than me. They don't need to be here. None of them do. Nobody needs to be here. I am with Jesus. Well, the hospital worker says, you seem fatalistic. Like you just accept your fate. Don't you believe in controlling your destiny? I know you're at the end of your days, but a lot of times people fight for more life. My grandmother, Weidenhoff, was a Christian woman. She was a great woman. She was the kind of grandmother who every grandchild, or most, thought that they were her favorite. I thought I was her favorite. I was not even her real grandchild. I was actually her step-grandchild. It took me years to realize that she wasn't my blood relative. It never showed in the way she treated me. It was a kind of a shock, even though it was logical. I had more grandmothers than you're supposed to have. I think I had 4 sets. Everybody else has 2. God gave me that too. So when she was in her last days, she didn't want to leave. She wasn't afraid of death, but she wanted to do more. She cared deeply. She didn't want to leave us all behind. She was worried about what would happen. I don't have that attitude, but I respect that she did. She was not fatalistic. She was a woman that took charge. And I myself, all my life, was always this dual aspect. On one hand, I could be absolutely fatalistic when I felt like the fate or the destiny or the result was out of my hands. I would just accept it. But when I knew that it wasn't out of my hands, and when I thought it might be in my hands, I fought like crazy. I was ruthless. I don't mean in a sinful, bad way, but I mean just determined and willing to go to any lengths, and nothing was off the table. The only thing was off the table was if it was illegal or immoral. But there's a lot of stuff you can put on the table that isn't illegal, and it isn't immoral, but that is strong. And that's how I lived. I believed in fighting for everything. I believed in controlling your destiny. I believed you did not leave anything to chance. And yet I also knew when I came across something where the outcome was not in my hands, to let it go and not wrestle with it, but to accept whatever God allowed in that circumstance. And so now I'm not at a place where I can do anything. I can't control anything. I can't even control how well I'm treated. You could come in here and abuse me, and if I, who's going to know? That's how it is. For all of the things that I've endured in faith, God will reward me. So everything He has allowed to come to me, I look forward to the reward. So no, I'm neither fatalistic nor am I deterministic. I am absolutely both at different times. And when I am either one of them, I am usually all in. 125% or more. The worker asked me, "Are you tired?" "Oh, we're all tired. We're all tired. As you get older, you get tireder and tireder and tireder. The amount of time you spend being awake and vibrant versus the amount of time you spend feeling grumpy and fussy and painful and tired, it begins to inverse itself over time. I do not know why this is, but it is. So yes, I am tired, and I am ready. And that, my friends, is how I imagine I will accept my fate when that time comes. I'm not anywhere near that now. There's no danger of it. I'm not in a hospital. I'm not dying. Not even really sick. In fact, in many ways, I'm healthier. I'm finding new ways to make myself better. Medicines, natural things. I'm probably healthier than I've been in a couple years at least. But I'm 56 years old and I'm considering what life is. Well, not 56 yet. I'll be 56 next month in May 2024. And I don't hold on to this life, but I cherish this life. I am willing to let it go to Christ, but I'm not willing to give it to any man. Just as I am willing to bend my knee to God, but not to humans. There's always that sort of duality in me. So I've been thinking about being as old as I am, as one is awful wont to do at this age. And I don't know how long I'll live, nor do I know how long I'll be useful. 10 years? 20 years? 5 years? You begin to feel mortal when you know that you have more years behind you than ahead of you. And as I've looked at my health overall, even though it's better, it hasn't been great. I wouldn't consider myself a specimen for longevity. But who knows? Nonetheless, it's a moment of reflection. And as I do reflect, I think I am at peace with whatever God does. I have my doggie here. I have my wife who has Alzheimer's, who depends on me. And I got to thinking, what if I got sick? What if I was in the hospital now? Well, I would have to release them, wouldn't I? I would have to release all my cares about them. Because I couldn't do anything about it at that point. Fretting about it and worrying about it only causes pain. Needless pain. Because it doesn't bear any fruit. So I try to make sure things are prepared for them, just in case. Especially for Dora, obviously. Even though I love my doggie, he's not my wife. He's just my doggie. He's my dog's son, but he is my dog. I do have, I'm sure that my brother or my friend Joe or somebody else would take the dog and make sure that he was well taken care of. He's a well-loved dog. My friends and my family would rally. They already have to help me with Dora. I'm confident she'll be just fine, no matter what. However, having said that, back to the duality, I am more focused on my health now because I don't want that to happen. Because I still think that it's best that I be the one that takes care of them until they're gone. And then what if 10, 15 years from now, I have no wife and I have no dog? What if I'm all by myself? Would I be ready to die then? Well, I would never kill myself. I absolutely abhor suicide. We have no right to take our lives. And unless you're non-compos mentis, it's a very bad idea to do this. I will not literally say you're going to hell, but I will say, for me, that is not a risk I would ever take. That would be a dumb mistake. I will not make that mistake. Also, I don't hate life. I don't hate living here. I went through a period where I did feel that way, but I don't. I don't hate living here. I would make the most out of it, and I would see what God had for me. Maybe have another dog. A question is often asked of me, people who know my wife's health, is obviously what it is. Would I marry again? I probably wouldn't, but I leave that to God. If God had a plan for me, that he wanted me to marry someone, as he had a plan for me to marry Dora, I would obey him. I would take what he said, but it would have to be God. In my natural self, though, I can't see how I could ever find anyone as good as Dora. And I don't know what I'll be like if that happens, if I lose her. I do everything in my power to give her as quality of life as I can, and to give her as much longevity as I can. I make sure she has the right nutrients, the right care. I make sure she doesn't get sick. She doesn't get like urinary tract infections. There's so many things you have to consider when somebody has Alzheimer's and things are starting to slow down for the body. And I still hope and pray for renewal and for salvation, for healing. Today, she rested a lot, but she was better in a lot of ways. And she was able to walk nice and smooth to the bathroom. I just bought a wheelchair that hasn't come here yet today. It's supposed to be here. But I just bought a wheelchair for her. Because she was starting to not be able to walk. And of course I checked for the urinary tract infection to make sure that wasn't the issue. Because last time that's what it was. So that wasn't the issue. But she rested a lot and she got up and just walked nice and smooth. I'll still have the chair here though, just in case. Or maybe give her a break once in a while. Just roll her there just so it's easier for her. But I do everything I can to give her longevity. And I love having her. I love knowing that she's right here. And that I can go and hug her and kiss her anytime I want. And I could say I love her 1,000 times a day. And every time I do, she'll smile. She doesn't tire of me telling her I love her. When she was healthy and whole, she sometimes would be like, You don't have to tell me you love me every minute. She didn't realize how goo goo gaga I was for her. And that never changed. I'm still that way for her. Now she's fine with me saying I love you 1,000 times. She is not just a person I care for. She's my wife. I don't know what I would do without her. Even in this state, she still brings me joy. I do not consider her a deficit, and nor do I consider myself to have repaid the debt I owe her. So one day, I will, though, face that moment when I will lose her, unless I die younger than I expect. I know what the statistics are. I know how long she's had this. I know what her progression is. I'm not blind to it. I cling on faith and hoping that God will give her longevity and that He'll give her health and restore her, even if not wholly, at least partially, at least so that she can have a little more cognitive functions, so she can enjoy life, and she can have another 20 years with me. But I also know that in the natural, that's probably not going to happen, barring God doing a miracle. She's probably lived longer than others have because she's had excellent care. Her physical health is good. She has good nutrition. She has good heart. Low cholesterol now. If she was not afflicted with Alzheimer's, she'd be a very healthy woman. You would see her and think, wow, this woman is almost 60 and she's got the energy of a 30-year-old. She's got good bones. She's got good health. So perhaps she'll be here much longer than would normally be expected. But if everything runs its course as normal, I will face that moment, and I dread that. I sometimes panic. I run downstairs and check on her. I have a video camera, and a little alarm, so she gets up and moves. I can catch her. I can't sleep with her. I've learned that doesn't work. She doesn't sleep very well when I sleep with her. I'm sad about that, but it is what it is. But yes, I face that one day as well. And I can imagine her if she was cognitive, and if indeed she was in her last days. I don't think she would sound much different than me. She'd probably sound sweeter and nicer and warmer and kinder, but basically the same jibe. She was an incredible woman when she was healthy. She took care of a lot of people. She loved her kids. She loved her animals. She loved God. She loved people that were in need. We sponsored children in Africa. She loved doing that. Her biggest disappointment was she wanted to go out and do missionary work. And we tried many different ways to do it, and it just didn't work out. She did missionary work, though, in a way, because she trained people, she raised a lot of money, she organized missions trips, she organized missionary conferences to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for missionaries. She traveled around the state of Pennsylvania teaching people evangelism. I'm sure that many people, many, many thousands of people came to the Lord because of the work that she did. But she was always disappointed that she didn't get to just go to some country. I guess I was too, but I can tell you with a clear conscience, and so could she, that neither her or I ever held back our hand. We never stopped trying to pursue it. But if it wasn't the money, things would literally get canceled on us. And I can't tell you all the number of things that just didn't work out. They clearly were out of our hands. So I am looking at her and myself feeling mortal, and so that's why I came up with the scenario. And I wanted to express that. But I also wanted to help other people to see the reality that this life is a passing thing, that there is something better, but that without Jesus Christ, you're not going to go through that door. And that makes me sad because, you see, unlike the scenario, I am on the other side. I am worried about people. I do care that there are people I know that may never come to a saving knowledge of Jesus. We'll see. We'll see where they go. I guess that is all for now.